names and let you know where I come from before I start offloading information to you. The title of this is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I talk to schools about technology and using technology to help kids build a better life. And what I find is that most kids are raising themselves on digital playgrounds and nobody is on recess duty. And when they fall off the slide, we blame them. So I anoint people to go online, to get on Facebook, to use these crazy tools your grandkids use and live beside them on that digital playground, even if you're clumsy there. I'm not good at any of this. I'm not waiting to be good. I don't have time. I've got kids who look to me as an example. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I'm exhausted. I have no idea how most of this works. If it wasn't for kids helping me, I couldn't do any of it. But I know there are kids there. Now raise your hand if you believe this. Even good kids will do stupid things if no one's watching. Raise your hand if you believe this. Even good adults will do stupid things if no one's watching. We have senators that do these things. We have athletes with one tweet lose a full ride scholarship. This happens every day. So we've got to start talking about what are the good things that kids can do with this. How can they make the world better? How can they be Christian here? Don't be Jesus at church and Hitler on the internet, right? I think when kids have a secret life is when they get in trouble. And they have a secret life when mom, grandma, grandpa are not involved in their digital life. It becomes something that happens. I've seen it everywhere I go, right? So what do we do about any of this stuff? I mean, we're all just doing the best we can. I've got a little story I want to share with you, something that happened to me fairly recently. Let's see if I can get it going here again. There we go. Here I am from Inman, right? I'm on the school board, third term, don't judge me. I love our schools. I love our town. I'm an advocate for small town. I haven't moved. I still love my town. 2 terms on city council, 3 terms on school board. I like my town. But I'm on the road a lot, so I have to Skype in to the meeting a lot. But they forgive me for that, right? So this is me and my wife. I brought her with me to Inman, Kansas. Met her in college. That was the first year of college. The night I met her, I knew I was going to marry her. She didn't know, but I knew. I took her to a fancy restaurant. There we were at Denny's. And I was just talking, and she looked across the table and said, "You do realize I know that you're full of it, right?" And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a smart girl. My dad said marry a smart girl. He said, "Kevin, take the family tree above ground." So I married her 26 years ago. We moved out to Inman, Kansas. I became junior high football coach because you have choices in a small town. It was either high school cheerleading or junior high football. I didn't flip a coin. I had no idea how to coach football. I never played football, but I wasn't doing cheerleading. I knew that. And we were 7-1, right? Every kid played. I had no idea, right? I love junior high kids. So I raised my son, Ben. And we only had one. Doctor said it was a minor miracle we had one to be happy. So we were. And we raised him up in a small town. He's a weird child. I said, "What do you want to be for Halloween?" He said, "Exit sign." Exit sign. Who asks to be an exit sign? And he demanded that it light up. We won the costume contest. It was awesome. Well, he went off to Kansas University to become a high school history teacher. He just took a job near Colorado Springs. So it cost $100,000 to send him to college, and $32,000 to start that service, right? Giving your life to something, you know? I think people misunderstand what teachers do. It's a hard life. I was in my late 30s when I paid off my student loans, you know? So I could have this fancy life that I have. What it really is service. You know, you give yourself to children, you know, everything that you have and everything that you are. That's the mission. So I've never stopped with that mission, right? But my son moved out, and it was just me and her. She had empty nest syndrome. It was weird. She started collecting animals. We have 4 dogs, a cat, a rabbit, and a red-eared slider turtle so far. I said, "Honey, I'm enough." Apparently not. So I bought one. See, she came to me one night with this. At 48, I raised the kid already. She said, "We're back in the game." I said, "I was not aware I had eligibility." I get to do the whole thing again. 22 years between kids. this happen to any of you? Anyone nervous right now? I didn't know we even could. But God has his own way, you know? I think God said, if you're going to talk to people about raising kids, I'm going to give you a fresh one. So back at my house, I have this. That's Gibson Lee Honeycutt. And he thinks Daddy knows everything. And I better know a lot. I can't rest. I got to keep learning. I got to get him ready for his future. And it won't look like Ben's. Ben grew up in a time when the internet was brand new. There was one computer in the house, and I sat right beside him. Now there are cell phones, there are iPads, there's a million ways to connect to the world, and I have to be there. And I'm tired. When you're my age, you know when you have a baby, how much time you spend on the floor? When's the last time you sat on the floor for an hour? You know what it's like getting up. You got to get to your hands and knees, and you make that groan. Now that Gibson's pulling himself up, every time he does it, he goes, I've already taught him the groan, you know. I'm going to be creepy old man dad at t-ball practice. And this isn't coming back, right? But what I'm thinking is, I've got to think and I've got to live in this world that he's going to grow up in so I can help him be a good person in that world. And I won't know what I'm doing. Don't wait till you have it figured out. You'll never do it. If you waited to have the money to have children, how many would you have? You just start, right? And with faith, you kind of live beside your kid. The pioneers grew up beside their kids. They took them out west and learned beside each other. They died in large numbers, but they grew as families, and they learned as families, right? So I think we got to do that. I love it when Grandma gets on Facebook and Instagram. I have a group of grannies on Facebook called the Digital Grannies. Look them up, the Digital Grannies. They called me. They said, we want to learn Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I said, why? We want to mentor our grandkids without embarrassing them. I do this for free. This is anointed work. It's exciting. Grandmas are good, by the way. These women are better than me already. They're just fast, right? The room smells like excitement, nervousness, and Ben Gay. But this all started for me like this. I live in Inman, Kansas. I'm the art teacher, 13 years there, right? And my son, when he was little, he said, Dad, will you build me a tree house? I'm the crazy art teacher. Of course I want to build a tree house. Every guy wants to build a tree house. But I was busy coaching football and teaching other people's kids, and he waited a while. The next year he came along, Dad, treehouse. I said, soon. Next year, Dad, treehouse. I said, soon. Next year, Dad, treehouse. It was almost too late. So I put a 4x8 sheet of plywood in the tree in the backyard. I have a locust tree back there. It went, done. He said, Dad. I said, what? He said, that's a deer stand. I said, use your imagination. He said, fine, let's sleep in it tonight. I said, in the deer stand? It's late October. I'm up in the tree. It's freezing cold, man. I woke up at 2 in the morning with snot sickles. It's freezing. I said, Ben, what? It's cold. I know. Wouldn't it be cool if I had walls? Kids know what to say to make you feel about this big. Kid waited 3 years, and I built him a deer stand. So I went to my wife the next day, and I did what most men do. I overcompensated. I said, can I build him a cool tree house? She said, 3 words. Young girls, write this down. It's important. Men need limits. We don't like them, but we need them. She just said, go for it. I thought that meant go to Inman Lumber and write a check for $1,000. It was a check, so it worked. I backed up to the tree and started building this 5x7 by 4 by 5 by 7 tree house. It's got a refrigerator, microwave, cable TV, air conditioning, heating system. It's a house in a tree. My son just moved in, and he's a good kid. And all your kids are good kids, and your grandkids are good kids. But they're kids. They're going to make mistakes. And in them old days, well, you guys, raise your hand if you made a mistake when you were in puberty. Raise your hand if you made a mistake. It's Kansas. Come on, it should be all of us. Yeah? All right. Can I Google those mistakes? Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness they're analog. Your kids and grandkids are on the record. Every time they status update, every time they tweet, every time they send a picture on Instagram, they're telling the world who and how they are. And what I'm telling kids is that online should be your testimony. This should be what I stand for, not what I look like. We're in the age of selfies, you know, what you look like. And the kid will spend an hour getting the selfie right? It's all about image. But I ask people, is this all you are, what you look like? When kids get in trouble because they get unwanted attention online, it's usually because they have a haughty selfie as their Facebook profile picture. Well, who was coaching them? Did Grandma have a profile? What did her profile picture look like? Does it have to be you? Are there other ways to do a selfie? See, I have an idea called a soul selfie. Soul selfie. You hold up your phone and you say, what you stand for, not what you look like. Hi, I'm Kevin Honeycutt. I'm a speaker. I travel around the world talking to kids about using technology to build a better life. Thank you. Stop. Publish. Soul selfie. Done. Now that stands for me, not some picture. You see what I'm saying? See, we think this way. Your kids are kids. They think the way kids think, you know. I don't expect them to understand. But now, with one click, raise your hand if you think this is true. With one click, a kid could ruin their life. Yeah? So this might be important, you think? In the old days, it took like a week to ruin your life. You had to work at it. You know, it took a while. Now, one click. Any of you ever lock your keys in your car? In wintertime, Kansas, you can die, right? You're making deals with God, you know, when you first slam that door, and then you remember, I always remember when I slam the door. For some reason, that's what I remember. Oh, keys are inside going, You're making deals with Jesus. Please, God, let the other window be open. Please let it be open. It's not open on the other side. And you're thinking one thought over and over. If I could go back in time and not slam that door. I want kids to think this way. If I could go back in time and not send that tweet, not click like. By the way, who's on Facebook? Raise your hand. Facebook, raise your hand. Most people are because their families are. I understand. And I got crazy family. Any of you got family that embarrass you on Facebook? There's a lot of testimony. I'm telling you, Jesus would be on Facebook because he went where the need was, and I see a lot of need on Facebook, right? But people can make mistakes there pretty fast. So a girl says a mean thing about your granddaughter last night on Facebook. And the next day in school, 100 girls click like. Click like. So I talk to kids. And I say, are you signing hate petitions? Because if you click like, you just told everyone you agree with that behavior. Who's coaching any of this? Who's talking about it? So I think we need to talk about it. Sit down beside your grandkids and say, hey, show me your Facebook. I just want to see what you're proud of. And I know what they're, don't make them do it right now. Give them a day or two, because they'll go, uh-oh, and they'll fix it. I've asked 100,000 kids worldwide this question. How many of you have something online right now you'd be embarrassed if your mom saw? Here's the reaction I get everywhere. Ready? Uh-oh, they have a secret life. Secret life, very, very dangerous thing. It breeds sociopaths and politicians. See, I waited for that one, see. I had to wait. So I say in the old days, after I die, if you want to know about me, you can go to the cemetery and read my tombstone. Kevin Honeycutt, he was a husband, a father, a teacher, and an artist. These days, to learn more, see his website, Facebook, Google, Reddit, Twitter, Yik Yak, YouTube channel, Lulu Books, Instagram. I am known, baby. I make my living this way. I am known, but I don't do stupid, I don't do mean online. I would never mess up my business. I would never hurt my family because I see the connection. But kids are kids. Kids are kids. They're not fully formed yet. In fact, you ever see a kid and it's a smart kid, but they do a stupid thing? Raise your hand if you've seen that. Raise your hand if you've ever asked a kid this question. What were you thinking? Raise your hand if you asked that. What do they say? Every time, exactly that. I don't know. Like Scooby-Doo. Well, I don't know. This makes me crazy. I have a good kid. He's a good kid, but he did stupid things in junior high. And I would just puzzle over, how is this kid an honor student and doing stupid things like this? So I went all the way to MIT. There was a study coming out on why teenagers do stupid things. I'm in the front row because I got to find out, because I don't want my kid to mess up his life with one click. So they're talking about the brain, that thing inside your head, that thing that you are. By the way, if you take your two hands and put them together like this, it's roughly the size of your brain, right? So two hemispheres inside your cranium, crammed in there, right? And that's who you are. In the very front of the brain, it's called the prefrontal cortex. It's in charge of something researchers call executive function. It's the decision-making apparatus of you. It's the last thing to develop fully in a human. How cute. This is why boys make legends out of stupid behavior. Remember when we all jumped off of that and no one died? That's crazy. We should do that again. Men are nuts. Now women, they kind of grow up a little sooner. The research shows, right? They showed video of asking teenagers this question: is it a good idea to swim with sharks? Right? Girls at 15 and 16 mostly said no. What do you think the boys said at that age? Could be cool if you had your friends with you. Yeah, more snacks for the sharks. The research shows girls begin to develop this thing around the age of 16, and men marry one. Yeah, I had to wait for it twice now. You can move it along just a little fast. I'm in a church, though. I know that. How will you start building this thing? And by the way, I call it something. Digital legacy. Say that, digital legacy. Say that with me. Digital legacy. What does that mean? Everything I can go online and find out about you, right? And by the way, in a few years, not finding anything about you will be almost as bad as finding something bad. Because they'll say, where's your life? Where's your evidence? Where's your testimony? Where's your work history? You don't exist. This is why I want Grandma to step through the digital veil and start publishing stuff. I want Grandma to look into her phone and make 100 videos about who you are, what you cared about. We're the first generation that can send ourselves through time, and our great-great-grandkids can know us. That used to be called photography, and you couldn't talk. Now you can talk. They're going to see your videos and say, great-great-grandma was crazy. They're going to hear your voice. You're going to speak with fidelity from the past. You can influence the future. Kids are doing this, not always with direction. And I'm not indicting kids. They're kids, right? But where are your videos? I decided to make videos. I got a YouTube channel, 1.4 million hits so far. I cannot believe people watch my videos. That's pretty bold to make videos. What do I make videos about? I teach. I do guitar lessons. I'm not good, but I'm okay. I'm better than nothing, and I'm free, so I'm worth every penny. I'm somewhere cool, I make a virtual field trip for all the kids who don't get to go there. That's what I do. I want you to do this. What could you teach with your phone? Because you're not talking to a phone. You're talking to every kid that will ever watch that video. Simple things like, how do you check the oil in a car? Maybe your granddaughter might like your video. She pull it up and go, Grandpa made a video about checking the oil? She's got it on her phone, and she's checking her oil in the driveway. Wouldn't that be cool? I made one changing a tire, because my son couldn't even change a tire. This generation of kids seem weird. They seem like they don't care about the way a car works. They just use them. I built my first car. It had a 327 small block Chevy. I pieced that thing together. I worked on it for years. I know how internal combustion engine works. I took small engines class. Watch me strip and put back together a Briggs & Stratton. Don't like Tecumseh, but Briggs & Stratton, I can do it all day. Well, my son, I said, come out in the driveway. I'm going to teach you how to change a tire on that GMC. I gave him my pickup. He said, I'm not interested. I said, what? I'm not interested. I said, well, then you'll be standing beside the highway with your girlfriend waiting for a man to arrive. He became interested. But it occurs to me that these videos that we make and share, that they don't have to be rocket science. What about, my mom is in her mid-70s. She crochets really well. I want her to make crochet videos for my grandkids, you know? She could do that. It wouldn't be hard. She has a phone. She finally moved from the flip phone. I couldn't believe it. Some of you got a flip phone and you're not going forward. I understand. I understand the reason. My mom finally got a smartphone because it has a camera and does a really good job with video. Do you know why? So she can talk to Gibson. My mom's back in the game too, right? They're doing FaceTime calls and Grandma's there in the baby room talking to my child. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Grandma. We need you. We need mentors, okay? I'm pushing it. I mean it, okay? I'm sincere. If you go to Facebook and look up the Digital Grannies, you can join us. Join us. We meet about twice a year, and everyone brings the best things they've learned, and they teach each other. It's just a fun room to be in. How will these kids start making this digital legacy? They already did, because Mom Facebooked their sonogram picture. Most kids today are online before they're out of the uterus. So people wonder when to start. You start talking to kids immediately. Immediately. My kid is 15 months now. Is he using an iPad every day? No. We read books. We're starting analog, right? First time he uses an iPad, it will be a book. Right? We're not going to play games or use digital as a babysitter, and this happens. Have you seen this? A placator, a pacifier. They just hand them that, and they do that. And we did it too with TV. Come on. You sit your kid down in front of the TV so you can make dinner. I understand, right? But this isn't the same as TV, right? TV is a push technology. It pushes stuff at your kids, right? But a computer is push-pull. It pushes stuff at them, and it pulls them in. It asks for their opinion, their contribution. Gibson is already walking up to the TV and trying to push buttons. He thinks it's an iPad. My 15-month-old expects to interact with his media. That's the world now. And it's a little scary, but I think it's good to be on this side of the grass, you know. I'm going to keep learning. I think it keeps you young. There's research on this. You keep learning, you live longer. The minute you stop, you start dying. Have you ever met someone who retired and died a year later? They stopped using this. Right? So it's actually healthy to learn. That's good news, I think, for most people, right? So I ask kids, what have you added to your digital legacy? What if I Google you right now? Would you be proud of everything I find? Most of them look nervous. They're like, uh-oh, because they didn't think any of us would ever notice. Stop doing that. Stop posting things that make you look bad. Stop posting things that will lose you the scholarship or the job. Stop talking your coach down on Facebook. Who's your high school coach? A placeholder for your college coach. You think you're getting a scholarship? They notice these things. Oh, by the way, service is something they should be posting. They're starting to grant scholarships for service now, and they should, right? So your daughter volunteers for Habitat for Humanity. Can I find any of that online, or is she a secret genius? Why keep that a secret? That's testimony, right? Isn't it? Isn't it? Shouldn't those works be out there? I know it feels like bragging. I understand. But we live in a dark world. I think we need to shine a little more, right? I tell people the best way out of darkness is to make your own light. But don't make it a secret light, right? Evil's not secret. Why should grace be secret? Do you understand? So I want them to publish. I want them to talk. What do they stand for? What do they believe in? I want that to be everything I find when I Google your granddaughter. I want to say, what a great kid. And it's a scholarship competition. This girl's got better grades, but your granddaughter has this beautiful life. She wins. Let's make that happen, right? I ask kids, oh, you do all this great stuff. Where can I find it online? When Grandma asks that, they're going to freak out. Grandma, you online? Yes, I am. What do you think? I'm online and I'm looking. They're usually surprised and a little bit honored, right? So I love to build up kids when they're doing great things. Why not? Why not do that? So I tell kids this, common sense rule. Never say anything or share anything you'd be embarrassed if the whole world saw. They need a lens. They need a lens to put things through. My best one is, would your mom like this? Would your grandma like this? Would your pastor like this? Most kids go, uh-oh. They hadn't even thought about it. Look, once it's online, it's always online. No, it's not. I took it down. Yes, it is, because I screenshotted it. I took a picture of it because I don't like you. When you run for governor, you will hear from me again. That's happening. By the time I thought of saying that in front of people, it had already happened. It's happening, right? So think about how the world sees you and share that. Share the good stuff, right? Don't be, I don't know, humble about that. I tell stories like this. I collect stories of great things that happen to kids. I work with this young lady, and that's not her. I won't tell you her name. This is not a story that you tell someone's identity, but you do have to hear the story. I work with this young lady, and she had a hard life. She came from hard places. Dad sold drugs. Police raided the house. They shot and killed him in her presence. She saw the whole thing. So she's a bit off the rails. She's struggling in school. A lot of people have given up already. She's in junior high. A teacher said, I don't like that one. I said, we're allowed not to like them? If this was the emergency room, would we act this way? You broke your leg, why don't you sit down and think about what you did? It's not about judging them. They're children. What are you going to do for them? What can you do for them? Well, she was a poet. She wrote poetry all the time, incessantly. That was her healing. That's how she healed herself. So I go out online and I find a site called lulu.com. It's a place where you can get a free account, upload your book, click publish, and for free, it's available worldwide, and you have a legal copyright the minute you click publish. That means anyone in the world can buy her book, right? Free? How do they do that, Kevin? Thanks for asking. You buy the $14 book, Lulu gets 10, and she gets 4. Now she's worldwide. So I decided I'm going to try this with her. After I published a couple of my books, just to see how it worked. I tamed the tool. I always tame the tool. I went to her and said, hey, I know you're an author. Have you been published? No. I said, would you like to be today? Yes. So she stayed after school and we published Saving Me Poetry from My Heart. 10 pages in paperback. She's the first human at the school to have a legal copyright and a published book. She priced it 10 pages in paperback at $24.95. I couldn't afford her book. I said, sweetie, that's a lot of money for a 10-page book. Can you mark it down? She marked it down to $5.52, and I bought it online. It was at my house in 3 days. I've got her book in my hands. I can't wait to get to school. I see her at her locker, and I'm holding up her book. She turns around slowly, and she floats to me. And she takes it from my hands with the reverence of a Bible, and she opens it slowly and says, I misspelled everything. And she suddenly cared about spelling. Why? She's a published author. She said, how do I revise? I couldn't believe it. I said, just give me a second. No one's ever asked me that question. Just push the revise button, download your text, make your changes, re-upload, click publish, and you're done. She did, right? So the first thing I thought when I saw Lulu was yearbooks. Yearbooks. We've been paying Jostens $30,000 a year to do the school yearbook. Is that crazy? The next year, we made $10,000, and we didn't spend $30,000. That's $40,000 savings overall. How do you like me now? What other things could we do with self-publishing like this? How do we get kids to tell family stories? Wouldn't that be cool? If they're interviewing you and telling the story about your parents, World War II, there's all kinds of wonderful biographies they could be doing this way. These are things we could have them busy doing. Digital things they could be doing instead of. Instead of. Keep thinking, instead of. You ever see a border collie? You give them lots of things to do, right? Because they dig holes, right? Well, they dig holes digitally too. So I give you things to do instead of, things we can brag about. Let me give you a couple other crazy ideas. There's a site online called Spoonflower. Spoonflower. Let's pretend that your granddaughter is a good little artist. She draws all the time. So she's over at your house and you say, sweetie, you know what I want to do? I want to take some pictures of your artwork. She says, why? I'll show you later. So you put her artwork down, you take some pictures of it, right? And you go to spoonflower.com, you get a free account, you upload her pictures, and you turn her pictures into fabric like this. Then you buy the fabric and make a quilt from her best art. Please tell me that's interesting. Spoonflower.com. They also do wallpaper and wrapping paper. Wouldn't it be cool to send them Christmas presents in wrapping paper with their art on them? Raise your hand if this is interesting. There's a million things like this out there now, and I get so excited because I think I can get kids excited about this. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a fashion show in your town and all the fashions were made of fabric designed by your children? Oh, please do this and do it soon. The quilt thing. Oh, you can buy those little swatches for really cheap, right? The church could have a quilt on the wall that represented each family, and someone from the family could do the artwork. I get excited. I don't mean to, but I see new possibilities that we didn't have before, right? Spoonflower.com. You can Google that, okay? So we grew up with technology. Raise your hand if you think our kids are faster than us at learning how to use it. Yeah, so what's the deal? Here's my theory, not burdened by research. My kid grew up playing video games that look like this. I grew up playing video games that look like this. Raise your hand if you remember that. That was the Atari. It had a little controller, had one button on it. It was perfect. His game, 13 buttons. I don't know how to make it work. I don't want to know how to make it work, right? So a whole generation of kids grew up by themselves using these games. We were out of the business, right? Because it got too hard. It was complicated. I didn't want to play games with my kid, right? So he's always trying to get me to play. Dad, play Madden football. No. Didn't you coach football? He's good. I said, yeah. Maybe you got accidental skills. I played him. He beat me. I hated it. So I went in the garage and got out the Atari. It was in a box. Set it up old school. I said, get in here, boy. You're on Dad's playground now. House of Pain. We played Pac-Man. Remember that game? Whoop, 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 whoop. Next year, Mrs. Pac-Man came out. Same game with a bow in its hair. Worth it. We played Pac-Man, and I smoked him. Ha! Because I gave him the broken joystick. Remember, you always had... You did too, didn't you? You always had a broken joystick. You gave that to your friend when they came over, right? He beat me with a broken joystick. I started thinking, what is wrong with us? How are these kids different? They're different. They've grown up and their brains are different than ours, right? Well, I have a theory. Harvard University suggests that kids who've grown up playing these games can make up to 110 decisions per minute. Now, this is not unprecedented. People from our generation could do this, but they were called astronauts and fighter pilots. These kids' brains are fast. Now, by the way, 110 decisions per minute can be awesome if you're flying the Predator drone in service of your country, piloting underwater submersibles. 110 decisions per minute on Facebook, good idea? Social decisions? Maybe not. There's a difference, right? Gaming, hypothetical, social, real ramifications, right? So there needs to be a division here between gaming and real. And when people say, well, it's virtual, if there are people connected to you, it is life. It is not virtual. If you're playing The Sims and no one's connected, that's virtual, right? So it is one life now. It's becoming that. I bought the Wii. How many of you got the Wii Fit? I got the Wii Fit because I was a Wii Fat. So I bought the Wii Fit. You hook it up to your TV, exercise on it, and it sort of pulls you through. Now, I don't know how to use this. I hooked it up in front of my wife and kid. I climbed on, and it measures your weight. First thing it does is measure you. Measuring, measuring, measuring. And in front of everyone, she said, "That's obese." She called me fat in front of my family. I paid money for this thing, and it's making fun of me, you know. My wife is laughing. My kid is laughing. I said, "Shut your pie hole." My kid said, "If you shut your pie hole, you wouldn't be so fat." That's not cool at all. That's not cool at all. I take my technology down to the Inman Harvest Cafe, my iPads, put them on the table with my gray-haired friends, and I let them play with them. I just like to see how they react. And the iPad, right? Everything has changed. It's gotten easier. The first computers, well, you always got in trouble. The computer would give you the blue screen of death. You've committed an illegal operation. Anyone ever get that? The Gates police have you up against the wall. You're like, what would I do, right? Now it's like they're playing all these games and things, these ladies of mine, on an iPad, and they're giggling and they're having fun, and I'm thinking, we're back in the game. It's getting easier again, right? So why not play beside our kids and our grandkids? Sit down and say, talk to me about this game. What's it do? What do you get from this game? Conversations, you know? Because a lot of games now connect kids to other people. I was in western Kansas, and when I do my parent nights, I get stay after parents. It's never good. They stay after because they want to tell me something privately. I pray a lot during these sessions because what do I know? I'm just a guy from here, right? He said, my daughter, she's not a bad girl. He's crying already, this man. He said, her boyfriend asked for a picture. She's 13. She sent it. He shared it with everyone. He said, I'm the preacher in this town. What do I do? And I am humbled. Who am I to tell the preacher? What do I say next? I'm praying while he's talking. Please, God, tell me what to say. Tell me what to say. I need something good. I don't know what I'm going to say. What I felt called to say was, don't overjudge her. The town will. And you may have to move, but don't let her hang on this. She made one mistake, right? We made mistakes too, but they weren't so fast, and they weren't so forever, right? So I want to talk to kids before this happens. I don't want to get into all of the salacious details. But we grew up with what? Grimm's fairy tales. Who's read Grimm's fairy tales? They're grim, aren't they? As we have this new kid, I'm deciding whether I'm going to read them or not. And I think, do I want to damage my child with Grimm's? You know? But I realize what they are. They're not fairy tales. They're cautionary tales to help kids make good decisions so they don't die. I think we need digital Grimm's. Right? Whenever we see a headline where someone did something stupid, that's dinner table conversation. That's Sunday dinner conversation. Not all the details, but at least the basics of what the kid did wrong, what the guy did wrong, how he lost the scholarship, how he lost the job, just so they think, oh, I'm not going to do that. Right? Because good kids can do things fast. Remember? Prefrontal cortex? Right? So these are conversations. They don't have to be scary. See, ever since these kids have been born, there have been computers. Raise your hand when you remember a world with no computers. I love this audience because I'm usually the oldest person in the room, right? I remember those early ones cost a fortune. They didn't do very much, right? How about laptops? Remember the early ones? They cost a fortune, didn't do much. Battery life about 30 minutes, right? Then cell phones. Who had the early cell phone, the bag phone, Motorola bag phone? You could defend yourself in a parking lot with one of them, right? Yeah, reach out and touch this, boom! There's enough radiation coming off that handset to cook a tater. You got it up against your brain pan, bragging about your cellular phone. Hey, Rick, I'm calling you, guess what, from a cellular phone. Yeah, cellular, it's awesome. Yeah, it's $100 a minute, it's great. That was our phone, man, and we loved it, remember? But we always thought we were going to get better ones. Video games. What theirs looked like real life. Ours looked like, well, you know, and the internet. Now, I like the internet. Because a kid can stay in Buhler, Kansas, and work anywhere in the world from here. They don't all have to move now. You can be a virtual employee. I like that. I think it's a big advantage for small towns if we take advantage of it, right? And if we don't, well, what a waste, right? So, the evolution of phones. How many of you grew up with a dial phone? Dial phone. How about party line? Anyone have party line? We invented social media. Accidental social media. You're having a private conversation with your girlfriend, you hear breathing on the line, it's not her. It was Mrs. Cork. She used to do that all the time. I said, Mrs. Cork, are you on this line? No, click. Right? And then the very nice, these plastic ones came out. And you never owned them. You rented them. Remember? What a racket, man. You had to pay to lease this thing. Oh, my gosh. And then the push-button phone. Oh, my gosh. It's like the president phone. It's red. Nice. And then those first ones. They weighed 5 pounds each, right? And then came the flip phone. A lot of us stopped at the flip phone, and I don't know why. I think it's a comfort thing. It feels like a phone still doesn't do all that fancy stuff. I don't know, right? All I know is that your grandkids, they're not using a flip phone. They've moved to a smartphone. It does different things, so your experience and theirs don't go together. So how can you coach on something you haven't even seen? But what would be wrong with letting them show you? They love that. Can you show me how I do this? Have you ever asked a kid to show you how to do something that you already knew how to do, just so they could feel smart? I do this all the time. But if you don't know, that actually works real well. Because they'll sit down and tell you, and now you've opened them up a bit, right? And you can talk to them about these things. There's that last flip phone. You could take pictures with that one. And then these came out. What is a smartphone? What is this? Tell me all the things this is. Just say it out loud. Tell me everything this is. Computer, calculator, internet, camera, video camera, books, video games, almost every book ever written, and pretty soon every book ever written in their pocket. The Library of Alexandria in their pocket. What are we asking them to do with this? They're playing games. Don't blame them. What are we asking them to do? I mean, it's got a better camera on it than the Nikons I taught photography with. Where are your great pictures, he asked the kids. They take lazy pictures, unless it's a selfie, right? Hey, look, Mr. Honeycutt, I took a picture of a kitty. No, sweetie, you didn't. You took a picture of mostly grass. Take a better picture. Why? Because every picture you take is your intellectual property. It belongs to you. It's product, if you think of it this way. It's the stuff on that fabric I showed you. It's a Cafe Press website where they sell 1,000 products worldwide. T-shirts, clocks, iPhone cases, iPad cases, baby jumpers, dog shirts. They're an online Walmart for free just because they have pictures that belong to them. Why aren't we doing this? To keep kids busy running their own business and being entrepreneurs because they have a phone? I get excited about these kinds of things. I am in a big old hurry, though. I brought along a guitar and looking at the time. Can someone help me out? How much time? Am I out of time already? Because I tend to lose track of it once I get started. And how many? 7 minutes. So I'm going to do this quick. I want to do this quick. All right, I want to tell you a little story. When I was in 8th grade, I grew up in poverty, and my father was an alcoholic. I went to school in 20 states. I was always the new kid. And I begged for a guitar, but welfare kids don't get guitars. But my dad found one at a yard sale for $1 with no strings attached. Right? It had no strings. So I played for months with no strings. And then at Christmas, I got a set of strings, and the old man next door tuned it for me, but I didn't know how to play it. I just would hit it and try to make sounds. My dad said, Kevin, why don't you play my favorite song? I said, what's that? He said, Far, Far Away. I said, I don't know that song. He said, no, you stink. Play Far, Far Away. It was not very, supportive at that time. But I just kept messing around with it. And I found this here. And I remembered that from like the past, right? Like Boogie Woogie or something like that. So I entered a talent show. This is all I could do. What I just did for you was the whole song I could do. But I just thought I was good. I thought I was going to win. There's 1,500 kids in the audience, and I started my song. And I just kept going. And the kids started booing pretty quick. Then they started throwing things at me. Then the counselor came and took me backstage for my own safety. And I went home and cried, threw it in the closet, and said, I'll never, ever embarrass myself like that again. What was I thinking? But the guitar wouldn't leave me alone. It kept saying, you must play me. It talked like the Nasonex bee. You must play me. I'm like, shut up, guitar, I hate you. You must learn to play me. I didn't know why. I found out why later on, right? I won my wife with my guitar. If that's all that happens, that's enough. She said, you were a jerk, but when you play guitar, I thought there could be hope. So for years, I've been teaching myself guitar. I can't even read music, right? But I got a pretty good ear. So if I hear a song, And I usually start picking it out, trying to figure it out. It took me 8 hours to learn that. I'm sitting in my trailer just playing Sweet Home Alabama, one song at a time, right? So I've been teaching kids to play guitar for 25 years. I'm the guy that does it for free because I'm not that good. I teach them 3 chords and get them started, right? But most kids who start guitar, they quit. Any of you start guitar and not keep going? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. It happens, and I know why. It hurts. You got to want it, right? You got to be braver than blisters, right? Somehow you got past that. You got past that, and so did I. And I got the calluses, and then you can go, right? And that's awesome. So I started looking at these tools and thinking, could I teach guitar with a phone? Oh, that's a crazy thought. These phones come out, and they have apps. Apps like this one I'm going to show you right here for $1.99 called Pocket Guitar. Pocket Guitar turns my phone into the fretboard of a guitar. I'm going to show you how this works here. Pocket Guitar. That's what I was using this morning with my tuner. I tune my guitar with that app. 1, 2. Here's Pocket Guitar. 99 cents. Okay, let me turn this up. Here's a C major. G. Actually, I think I slid up the fretboard a little bit. But listen when I play a chord. It's a whammy bar. So if I can teach you 3 chords, E, A, and B, you can play a lot of spirituals with 3 chords. You can play Happy Birthday to You, Hokey Pokey, most of Elvis, a whole lot of country, 3 chords. And now suddenly your daughter knows 3 chords, and she knows the chords. If I hand her that, she can play them on that too. What is this? I hook them with this, and I cook them with that. Hook them and cook them, right? That's one app. Let me show you one more. Oh my gosh, it's called Ocarina. It turns your phone into, guess what? A flute, a woodwind instrument. You blow into it. Turn it up a bit. Finger positions on the screen. Sheet music online for free. App is $1.99. Now I could be playing Angry Birds, but instead I'm playing a spiritual on my phone. Please tell me that's interesting. Yeah, I was playing for you just now. I was also broadcasting worldwide just now. Anyone with this app could have heard me and sent me love. No one's ever sent me love. But wouldn't that be cool? Here's another app. This is called Voice Band. It turns your kid's voice into the instrument, right? All you got to do is hum, and you're a synthesizer, a guitar, drums, a piano. As long as you're on pitch, it's going to sound, okay, I'm just going to do kind of a dun-dun. I bet that's the first time that song ever happened in this sanctuary. My vision is kids are on the school bus writing music on the way to school and on the way home, not just doing whatever. I'm watching things like Pokemon GO. I'm watching phenomena like that. I'm playing Pokemon GO. I'm not great yet, but I got a few. I've caught a few. It's hard when you're on a plane because you're running really fast. I'm in McPherson, and I'm noticing all these families out in the park, and they're all playing Pokemon GO, and they're all getting exercise. It's not all bad, but there's always got to be balance. Don't walk into traffic. It's the same thing as always, right? It's a really cool thing. Don't lose your mind, right? Keep your sense of perspective, and that comes from the wisdom of age, I think. Us, right? We need to be in the game, talking to our children. I'm out of time, I think. I do want you to look at this guitar because I designed it. Coming from poverty, I'm a kid who got my first guitar from a yard sale, and now I'm a global speaker that can design and build his own guitars, and I talk to kids about that. Right? You can make it out of any place, right? But you got to work. Work plus time equals a life at the very end, right? So I'm going to share this story with you, and I'll quit with this one here. When I was a little kid, I was running through the house. I had a pair of tweezers. Now, I'm thinking about this now because I got a new one, and I saw these things on the wall that had 2 holes. I was a smart kid. 2 prongs, 2 holes, that goes together. I walked up and plugged it in. No, don't do this. You don't want to do this. That's 110 volts. If it was New Zealand, I'd be dead. I walked up and plugged it in. My mom saw the whole thing, but she couldn't get there fast enough. She ran in and kicked me with love. She's like, no! It's good. She wasn't going to touch me while I'm standing there doing that, right? It knocked me back. Fireball flew out of the wall. My fingers are black. The wall is black. My diaper's full. I didn't think about that for a long time until I got a little older and a little wiser and a little boy. He's going to do that, right? So our job is to be beside them. It's not always easy, and they'll get mad, right? But our job isn't to be their best friend, right? It's to help them, to guide them, to mentor them, to move into their space and live beside them. And that's not easy, I know, right? I'm honored to get to spend time talking to you guys this morning. Thank you so much.